So let's welcome Habiba Takyeldin.
On the first day of first grade, I had just moved to a new school and was surrounded by a bunch of kids I didn't know. Next to me sat a girl just as lost. Little did I know that same girl was going to be my first best friend and sadly my first friendship breakup. We never discussed this so-called breakup because we simply just drifted in our teen years. No big fight or dramatic ending, just disgrace. And because we never talked about it, I simply just brushed all my feelings under the rug and pretended like everything was fine. Yet every time we saw each other after this breakup, there was this weird, uncomfortable silence between us. And on the inside, I was panicky. Because how could my so-called best friend become someone I can't even make small talk with? This uncomfortable feeling never went away, and had more people talk to us about teenage girl friendships without using the word dramatic, maybe we would have learned how to get closure. The silence did teach me an important lesson. Here's what I learned. Teenage girl friendships can be the most powerful and the most painful relationships we'll ever go through, and we don't talk about it enough. We often dismiss teenage girl friendships, labeling them as silly or a waste of time. But we need to reset our brains and start viewing these friendships as life lessons that every single girl needs to learn, because they're the foundation of all our future relationships. And we as girls need to learn how to cut each other some slack and communicate to our partners, because that's what's gonna help us become healthy grown women who can form relationships with any person we encounter. We talk about marriages a lot, family relationships even more, but we rarely talk about teenage girl friendships, the foundation of all these relationships, the friends we make when we're still discovering who we are. I mean, sure, we talk about them, but not in a way that actually matters. We're quick to call these friendships frivolous, but never think to shed light on them in a positive way. Even though, for teenage girls, friends are everything. We teenage girls won't admit it, but most of what we do is related to making sure our friends like us. What we wear, how we talk, who we hang out with, it's all related to our friends. Before going out together, we call each other about our outfits, making sure no one's the odd one out. While we're walking in the hallways, we look for one another, just so we're not alone. And while participating in something as simple as a school activity, we make sure a friend is with us again, so we're not alone. These are all things we do to avoid being judged and isolated. And I mean, every girl has said this phrase at least once. If you go, I go. This might sound vain, but it's the truth. And we're all so afraid to see it, not wanting people to see under our masks. But we need to, because when we admit these somewhat vain thoughts, we start to realize that we're all putting up the same act, and frankly, we don't have to anymore. Teenage girl friendships have the ability to teach us as girls how to love, communicate, and forgive. But if you suppress your emotions, like most of us, they teach us to silence ourselves. And that lesson sadly follows into adulthood. Losing my best friend and the person who I told everything to wasn't even the hard part. The hard part is what came after. I was constantly questioning myself, wanting to understand, why would someone stop being my friend? And all I ever came up with was even more questions, and this wasn't the last time. Throughout my teenage years, I've had various friendships. Some were amazing people who made me die from laughter, and others were people who made me cry and not want to show up to school. Some even made me feel both. And the reason why these friendships are filled with so many questions and self-doubt is because as teenage girls, we don't really know who we are. I'm standing in front of you all right now with no idea who I am. I guess you could say we're on some journey to self-discovery. And the way we try to discover ourselves is through our friends. But what we fail to notice is that the same way we're discovering ourselves, so are our friends. And all this ends up doing is creating toxic cycles where we leave each other out and make fun of each other. And the way we try to excuse it all is by ignoring everything, even though on the inside, we do know how wrong it is. These friendships are so important, yet when adults hear us talk about these things, they tell us to get over it. They tell us that all these friendships will be way fastest in high school and it will be just drama we'll forget about. But saying get over it to a bunch of lost teenage girls isn't a solution. We need to use these situations as teaching moments, and when we utilize and capitalize these friendships, We start to learn how to communicate, repair our friendships, forgive one another, and most importantly, how to uplift ourselves without tearing others down. Get over it, on the other hand, just silence girls. And again, this lesson follows into adulthood. So we just need to face these challenges head on instead of ignoring them. Because today we face pressure unlike no other. Social media makes ignoring our problems impossible. When friends exclude us, we see proof of it on Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. And being excluded from one hangout is like a whole group shift where you end up with none of your old friends. And it's not like anyone means it, but because life is so fast-paced nowadays, we lose track of ourselves. I mean, friends I was close to last year feel like strangers now. But just because this is our reality doesn't mean we have to accept it. We can choose our own paths. And if we're intentional about how we handle our interactions and our emotions, we can do that. But here's the big question. How do we unlearn the emotional avoidance that is so prevalent in our society? Listen, talk, and apply. It's that simple. We need to start hearing each other out and listening to one another. When a friend comes to you with a problem or wanting to have us fix a problem, don't just feel the need to dismiss her and brush everything over. Actually listen to what your friend has to say. Because maybe you did say something rude and you need to apologize. Or this is of some big misunderstanding and you just need to reassure your friend. The only way you know is by actually listening to her. Then you can talk, and while talking, you don't have to argue or try to make her seem like the bad guy. Just communicate your perspectives. Be calm, because you need to prove that you want to lead this conversation with a friendship that is 10 times more stronger. Then comes the most important part, the one we often skip, applying what was said in those conversations. Whenever we leave them, we think she's just making a big deal out of nothing. But we can't do that anymore, because these friendships are so important. And when we apply what was said in these conversations, our friendships become way stronger than we've ever thought. And this might sound like I'm telling you some big gimmick, but I'm not, because this actually works. And if it doesn't the first time, it will the second time. You just need to try. Because when we put in the effort to listen, talk, and apply what we learn, something resets. Our friendships become much more stronger than we've ever thought. And misunderstandings become chances for growth. Teenage friendships have a lot of drama. Trust me, I know. But when things are good and everything works out, they can be the best friendships of our life. Getting ready together and making sure that every single hair strand is in place, laughing hours on end over the silliest things, and talking about our deepest problems knowing we actually understand one another. And these aren't just small situations we'll reminisce about later. They matter. Because that friend that always does your hair and helps you get ready is teaching you how to do the same for your future daughter. And the friend that always hugs and comforts you whenever you're crying is actively teaching you how to offer that same comfort to your little sister. The friend group with so much drama you couldn't escape taught you how to deal with the same annoying people in your future work life. So let's stop calling these friendships silly little girl problems and give them the recognition they deserve. Because every laugh, every fight, every lesson learned with or from a friend is a step toward becoming a better person. Someone who's understanding and compassionate. These friendships don't just shape our present, they shape our future. Thank you.